we're recording. This is 10.4. Does this
I
come
do it.
4? 10.5
Wow.
factoring. All right.
Yeah.
So
Man,
we started talking about this already, but let's sort of back up just a little bit and just kind of see the relationships of the various aspects of what happens when we FOIL something. Because what you're really doing when you're factoring, you're taking a quadratic trinomial and you're backing up and getting it into that factored form of two sets of binomials, right? So that you can set it to 0 and solve it. It's one method of solving. All right, so let's say I have something like this. X plus P times X plus Q, where P and Q are some number. Okay, so let's just FOIL this and just see if we can see the relationships here of these things, okay? So what happens when I multiply first times first? What do I get?
X squared.
X squared. And then I say X times Q, so that's QX. And then P times X, that's what? P times X. And this is multiplication going on between these things, right? And then the last thing is P and Q, yes. Now, what do you notice they have in common here? The X's, right? So I could factor an X out of that term. So it could look like this. Plus, I could say Q plus P times X plus PQ. This is a product, and that's a sum. Okay, what I did is I took X out of here and put it there. Like if I redistribute this,
Yeah.
then you see I get back up here, right? Do you see that? Q times X, QX. P times X, PX. Okay? All right, so when you are FOILing, so let's just look at the pattern here. When you're FOILing, the first term is this squared, right? So the first term is usually going to be the square root of the first thing, right? Okay. The middle term is going to be the sum of the factors of this. Okay. All right. Now let's use numbers if that will make it easier for you guys.
Yeah.
Okay. So how about we say X plus
4.
2 times X plus 3. Okay. All right. So what do we get? We get X squared, right? Plus what? What's outside? 3X plus inside 2X plus what? 3 times 2,
Plus
right?
6.
Which is going to be 6. Okay, so now look at that in terms of this pattern. What do I do here? I can add these, right? So this is the same thing as saying what? This is the same thing as saying 3 plus 2 times X, correct?
So 5 times
5X, okay? So what is this saying? This is saying that when I do this, I'm going to end up with, of course, I'm going to end up with this, right? 5X plus 6. But I'm taking these factors that go into 6 in such a way that they add up to 5.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Wait. You can factor a trinomial, put it into two binomials,
Yes.
being multiply itself,
Yes.
and solve it that way.
Well, that's what I'm doing
So
here. I'm just
that's-
showing you how the
yeah.
numbers are built up, okay?
Yeah.
So now we're going to back up, okay? So let's look at example 1 again, okay? So that's what? X squared plus 6X plus 8. This is one of the simpler ones, okay? So what I'm looking for are the factors of 8 that add up to 6. So, okay, let's just talk about what are the factors of 8. If we start real simple, 1 and 8, right?
2 and 4.
2 and 4. Oh, wait a minute. 2 plus 4,
6.
6. So that's what I need that to be. I need, positive 2, positive 4, multiply into positive 8, and 2 plus 4 add up to 6. So that's how it factors. So it's going to be X plus 2 times X plus 4. You see that? These two multiply to give me that, and then the X's, the middle terms, will add up to give me 6X.
So the goal of factoring is to make it simpler to simplify.
Is to break it down into those
So you can simplify.
to these two linear binomials that you can set to 0 and solve for X. Okay, that's the goal. Okay, all right. So let's do some more.
And can you factor like a call it. What do you? I guess it's with
All right. So did we do the checkpoints?
Nope, not yet.
Okay. So let's do number 1 together. Okay. So that's x squared plus what was it? 4x plus 3. All right. All right. So this is the question. What are the factors of 3
3-1.
that add up to 4? Well, there's 1 and 3, and then there's 3 and 1. Okay. So what are they going to be?
1 and 3.
sure?
So that's x plus
Fancy.
1 times x plus 3. And if you have a question about whether or not that works, FOIL it and see. X times x, x squared. X times 3, that's 3x, and then 1 times x, that's 1x, 3x, and 1x, 4x. 1 times 3, 3.
Why can't they just teach us one method?
This is the first method I'm teaching you right now.
Yeah, but like so we foiled it.
Well, okay, 'cause you're going backwards and forwards. It's the same thing. Foiling is taking this and multiplying them and getting up here. Now you're going the other direction. You're given this, you're breaking it up into the 2 factors. You're
Why
going
do we
in the
want-
other direction.
Why do we want to go that way?
Because you want to set this to 0 and solve for x, okay? Now your other method is to use a quadratic formula on this, but factoring is just so much easier.
Yeah, it is. Wait.
All right.
So
Let's try another one.
2.
Okay, let's look at number 2. X squared plus 5x plus 6. Okay, so what are the factors of which number I'm
Where
looking
did
at?
this one?
Okay,
Two.
Carter?
You want to get 2 and 3.
Okay, so I'm looking at 6.
6. And then you want to get 1 and 6, and you get 2 and 3. And you want to
Okay, there you go. So how's that going to factor? X?
Plus
2
plus.
times x plus 3.
Okay, if I FOIL this, will I get this back?
Yep.
Yep. All right, now you guys do number 3 on your own.
I'm confused about that though. So,
Oh, I see.
And number 4, go ahead and do 4.
how does that work?
You're looking at factors of 6 that add up to
No,
7.
3.
Number 3, factors of 7 that add up to 8.
Factors 7. There's no factors.
Yeah, there are.
Oh, 1 and 7. Got it. I was.
This is getting turned around. Here we go. All right. So number 3, how does that factor?
X plus 1 times x plus 7.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then number 4, how does that factor?
X plus 1.
X plus 6.
Okay, good. All right.
Wait.
Okay, so this is the simplest case because you have a positive here and you got a positive there. Okay, that means that they're going to add up to that. Okay, but sometimes it doesn't. It's not positive. Okay, and you have to look at other sorts of things. So that leads us to the next example. So they're going to make it just slightly more complicated. Okay, so now it's x squared minus 5x plus 6. Or is it minus? Yeah, plus 6. All right, so now, notice, what is the sign on this right here? That's positive, right? How do you get a positive product? What are the 2 ways you can get a positive product? If I have both of my factors are both positive,
Or multiply 2 negatives.
or 2 negatives. Okay, now the fact that this is negative, that means that I'm going to have to combine 2 sets of negatives to get that. Okay, and that means the signs are going to be the same. Okay, so that means these 2 factors are going to be negative because they get to combine into a negative 5.
Negative 2 plus negative 3.
Right, so that's
Wow,
so you're going to do factors of positive 6, but they're going to have to add up into a negative. So that's going to be negative 2 and negative 3. So how does that factor? That means that's x minus 2 times x minus 3.
Dude, can you just make up any kind of all trinomials?
Okay, so
Back
look at it. Just hold on one second, Luke. So x times x, that gives me my x squared. Then x times minus 3 is what? Minus 3x. Minus 2 times x, that's minus 2x.
Mm-hmm.
Minus 2 to minus 3, positive
Minus
6.
Uh-huh.
Okay, all right, now who's confused?
I'm not.
Okay,
not
all right, hold on.
confused.
Who's confused? Are you guys confused?
I got it.
You got it? Okay, good.
Good enough.
Confused. confused?
No, I
No.
got it.
Okay, everybody's got it. Okay, that's good. All right, so let's do number 5 on the checkpoint. So it's x squared minus 5x plus 4. So what are the types of factors I'm looking for positive 4?
Negative.
Mm-hmm. So
You
I
get
need them to
negative
combine. When I put them together, they got to combine into negative 5. So what are they?
Negative 1, negative 1,
Negative
negative 4.
4.
Negative 1, negative 4. Okay, so how does that factor then?
X minus 1 times x minus 4.
You got it.
Wow.
Okay, so at this point, just keep in mind what we're doing here is factoring expressions. How do I know that's an expression and not an equation?
Because there's no equal sign.
Yeah, if we're an equation,
Or it
I'd
could
have
be
this
y
set up
equals
to equal
or-
0. Okay,
Yeah.
and then you would solve it, right? But right now, we're just doing factoring. Okay, we're just factoring. We're just
Wow.
putting these into 2 factors. All right, guys, go on and do the next checkpoint.
6.
Do number 6. So what factors do I need? I need factors of,
Negative 2 and 2.
yeah, and then how does that factor out
And
though?
then you would get the x minus 2 next way.
Yes. Yeah, so write it out like that.
So this is Smith.
Yes. And you can foil it real quick in your head and see, do you get the original trinomial back?
Right. All makes sense.
All right, go ahead and do number 7. If you got x minus 2 times x minus 2, you are correct. And then go ahead and do number 7.
I get it.
Yes.
Then could you do x minus 2 to 6 or
You could write it as x minus 2 all squared, too.
that's not a
Yes.
yes.
Yes, you could write that. You can write this as x minus 2 all squared. All right, so number 7, we're looking for factors of positive 7 that combine into negative 8. So what would they be?
Negative 1, negative.
So x, negative 4,
Negative
No.
2,
Because
negative
when
4.
you multiply them, you want to get
No,
negative 7.
Negative
So,
7, negative
so he has this what is a factor? What's a factor?
It's like
The numbers that you multiply to get it.
Yeah.
So what numbers
We're talking
multiply
about-
to get 7?
They get a 7 over 1.
they're talking about 7.
But then what? But the factors are 12.
Where?
We're talking about this
Are
one.
you, which
and
number?
then-
Oh, you on number 8?
Oh, I'm
Oh,
at
okay.
eight.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
we're
talking
so
about
far
7.
into
Okay.
it.
It was
No,
like
we got
number
the
12.
right
Okay. All right. Yeah. So factors of 12 that combine into negative 7. What are they, Sarah?
4 and 3.
Okay, but they're going to be negative 4 and negative 3. So that's going to be x
You got it.
minus 3 times x minus 4. Correct?
Or are we talking about 8?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, now we're talking about 8. Okay.
Uh-huh. So okay, is everybody all caught up? Are we all together on through number 8?
Yep. I haven't done number 8.
Okay.
Kobe!
Wait.
Okay, so you're looking
I'm
for
sorry,
you're looking for factors of positive 12.
I don't write it super fast.
Okay, that combine into negative 7. So it's going to be negative 3 and negative 4.
You're 16. You should be able to do
Shh,
this.
okay, all right, James, quiet.
I am.
Okay, all right, you're distracting him. Okay, stop.
Yeah, I'm caught now.
Okay,
Wait,
this keeps
is
turning.
number 8 x minus 3 x minus 4?
Correct. Mm-hmm. Good.
I'm 16.
All right, now, are we ready to move on? Let's go to example 3 because there's a slightly different
Whoa.
pattern now.
I just
Okay.
looked ahead.
Okay, so.
That's dangerous.
But I think it makes sense, okay? You just have to take it a step at a time. So it says x squared minus 11x minus 12. Okay, so we know that when we multiply these factors of negative 12, in order to make that negative, what does that mean in terms of the signs of those factors? The signs of those factors have to be what?
One's going to be positive, one's going to be negative.
So it's going to be a positive and a negative factor. So I'm looking for factors of negative 12 that combine into negative 11. Okay, so that means they're essentially going to be subtracted from each other,
Negative
right?
12 plus 1.
Right.
And I
So,
totally didn't look at the book.
okay. So there it is. Negative 12 and 1. That's correct. So how would you write that? You would write x minus 12 times x plus 1. Now what happens when I FOIL this? So x times x, that gives me my x squared, right? Then I'm going to get negative 12x plus 1x, okay, and minus 12. This is what gives me my negative 11x right here, okay? All right, is anybody confused?
I'm a little bit confused about how you get to the 12 or to the negative 11.
What happened to?
Because you're looking for, you remember you're combining
No, I know,
these.
I get that, and I mean, I know how
Okay.
to do it, but it's just 12x plus x, or negative 12x plus x, and then you just type it in.
Yeah, because what's negative 12
Yeah,
plus 1?
okay,
Negative 11,
okay.
okay? All right, yes, well,
Do you have to? Does it matter which one you?
yes. Because what would happen if I got the negative in the other place? What would happen? This would become a positive 11, okay? So yeah, so the sign, so this matters in terms of which one. So if this is going to be 11, then that means that the one that, if this is going to be negative, that means the absolute value of the, you're going to go with the one with the larger absolute value, making that negative,
Okay.
okay? So whichever one's furthest from 0 is going to be the one that's going to have to be negative. If this
Right.
were positive, then whichever one was furthest from 0 would have to be positive. All right, so you guys ready to do the checkpoint? Okay. So let's do number 9 together, and then we'll let you. This is actually kind of fun. I mean, it's like little puzzles, really. X squared minus 5x minus 6. Okay, so I'm looking for factors of negative 6 that are going to combine to negative 5.
1 and negative 6.
Negative 6 and 1. Yeah, so 1, negative 6. Okay, if I add this up, I'm going to get negative 5. So this means I'm going to put this as x plus 1 times x minus 6.
Couldn't you also do x minus 3 times x plus 2? Doesn't that work too?
Okay, let's see. What is that going to give me? X, what'd you say? X minus what?
X minus 3 times
Okay.
x plus 2.
All right, let's FOIL it. Let's see what we get. This is like a, okay, x times x is
X squared.
minus 3x plus 2x
Oh,
minus 6. What does this give me?
or negative 1x. Or
Yeah.
negative x.
It's different. Okay, it's not the same. But let me just tell you, these foiling patterns, students mess them up all the time. You need to foil it back, or factoring pattern, I should say, and make sure you get back to where you started from. Because the point is that negative 3 and positive 2 don't combine into negative 5. Okay, so that's why that wouldn't have worked. Okay.
Oh, it's two checkpoints.
Okay, so go ahead. Go ahead on to 10, 11, and 12.
Is this?
For number, I'm sorry, which one? 10. Okay, so look, so in 10, you're looking for factors of negative 10, right?
Yeah.
That combine into negative 3.
Oh, right. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 10 and negative 1 or whatever,
Yeah.
that's going to give you 9.
Is it
or-
negative 5 and 2?
yes. Okay, you got them? Okay, feet on the ground. Okay, so number 10 is what? Okay, that looks good.
You're doing 10, 11, and 12 as well?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You got it. Good. How you guys doing over here?
I'm struggling on 10, but I got 9.
Which one?
I got 9 11, but I'm struggling on 10.
10. Okay, so factors of negative 10 that combine into negative 3. Okay, so the 1 and 10 combination don't work. What's your next choice? 10's even, so 2 and
5.
okay, try something with that.
Oh, I get it.
That's fine.
Okay, number 11. Yes. Yep, you got it. Done. Okay, that's number 10. Yep. Yes.
Smith.
All right. Yeah. Okay, number 9. Okay, yep.
And I got 11 and 12 too.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. You got it.
And 11 and 12.
Oh, great.
11 and 12.
Okay. 11, okay, and then 12.
Sweet.
Okay.
Okay, I didn't have 14 or 11.
11, you're looking for factors of negative 14 that combine into negative 13.
Oh, that's
Okay.
easy.
So negative 14 times 1, right?
Right. Oh, okay. So I did. Okay. So
So it would be x minus 14, x plus 1.
yeah, I got
Okay, so you got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are these right then?
Okay, so here, so 9 is x minus 6 times x plus 1. Number 10, x minus 5 times x plus 2. Number 11, x minus 14 times x plus 1. And number 12, x minus 7 times x plus 1.
Does it matter what order this is?
No, because what property says that I can
The
multiply
commutative.
factors in different order?
The commutative.
Commutative. So the commutative property says it doesn't matter what order the factor comes in, okay? Because if you FOIL them one direction versus the other, you'll get the same thing, right?
Oh, so close.
All right, one more pattern, okay? And then we're going to go into the next section, which is just a little bit
Okay.
more complex. Yeah, maybe. Because you guys are moving along. This part 1 and part 2.
We can also just do one as well.
What?
Well, let's just see how it goes. Okay, it's 4:16. We've got plenty of time. Okay, so
Oh,
example
yes.
4. X squared plus 17x minus 18. Okay. This is similar to the other pattern. It's just that when you combine it now, you're going to end up with a positive here. The absolute value of the positive factor is going to be bigger. Okay. So I'm looking for factors of negative 18 that combine into positive 17. So what is that? What are factors of negative 18 that when I add them up are going to add up to positive 17? What is it?
18 minus. And
Yes,
negative 1.
right. So negative 1 and 18, right? So so that's just going to factor into x minus 1 times x plus 18. Okay, it's not any different than the other one. It's just that the other one ended up with the negative in the middle instead of a positive. So it's the same thing in that because you got this last term has a negative here. That means the factors are going to have to be a positive and a negative, but they got to combine in such a way that the middle term ends up being positive. All right, so let's do 13 together. This is x squared plus x minus 6. So in other words, I'm looking for factors of negative 6 that are going to combine into positive 1 when I add them up. Wait, what? I'm looking for factors of negative 6 that when I add up those factors, I'm going to get a positive 1. So what are the factors of 6? Negative 6. Well, there's
6
negative
and
1. Okay, so there's
It's
1 and
positive.
6
It's
and 2 and 3,
It's
okay?
positive 3 minus 2.
Yes, so, and because this is positive, that means the absolute value of the one that's furthest away from 0 is going to have to be positive. So this is going to have to be positive, that's going to have to be negative. Okay, so it's x minus 2 times x plus 3. Okay, does that make sense? All right, so go ahead and do 14.
Here you go.
Andrew.
Go getter.
Oh, do you do them already? Feet number?
Andrew.
Okay, number 14. Yep. Yes, sir. Fantastic, good.
Dang,
I got wait. I got.
Okay, that is, yes.
Hold on.
Okay. 14. Okay, that looks good. That looks good. Excellent.
Doing all
All right, you guys are on a roll. Okay, number 14. Okay. This looks good, except this shouldn't have an X. Okay, all right, that's good. All right, James, you got yours?
I'm doing all 3.
14,
14, 15.
okay, well, let me see them.
No, I've only done 14.
Oh, okay.
Is that it?
That's it. Okay, and then what about,
I haven't
okay,
finished
but this,
it.
you don't have time for that.
No.
Here. Oh, 15.
Okay, yes, very good.
Wait, fine.
We missed Smith. We're doing 10.6 today too.
We're gonna start it.
Yay.
Okay. But are we gonna have to do the homework?
We'll see.
As long as it's no, I'm okay with that. Yeah, baby.
Guys, just don't be smart.
I'm gonna show you a
just
method
add.
of factoring. It's called the box method.
And they just add an A onto it.
Yeah, you're gonna have a leading coefficient. Okay, so that makes it a little bit more complicated, but it's still, the thought process is pretty much the same. Okay, what you got?
Oh my gosh.
14.
Okay, all right, 14 is, all right, very good, and what's the next one? Okay, and, yes, sir, you got it.
I'm trying this whole
Okay.
calculator thing and it's not working out very well.
Okay.
There we go.
Mhm.
They're all wrong.
All right, so guys,
Are they right?
so 13, x plus 3 times x minus 2, 14. Listen up, x plus 4 times x minus 2. 15, x plus 10 times x minus 2. And then 16 is x plus 5 times x minus 2.
Or x minus 2 times x plus 5.
That's fine. And any of those could have been in a different order, yes. All right, so right now you've learned about the technique of factoring, okay? If it's not, is everything factorable? No. Okay, if it's not factorable and you want to solve it, what would you have to do?
Foil.
You could
Foil,
foil, well, yeah, I mean,
algebraic.
this is already foiled, okay?
Oh,
You'd have to use the quadratic
Yeah.
formula,
I'm-
okay? Because you could end up with something that's not, this is all nice and factorable, but if there's plenty of stuff that's not factorable, but where you would look at factors of those that would combine to the middle term and it doesn't work out, then you're talking quadratic formula, okay? All right, so now when we're solving this, what is it that we're really looking for? Right now, these were just expressions, right, that we were factoring. But if I went ahead and I said, oh, this equals 0, and this equals 0, and I solved for this, and I said, well, x equals what here? What does x equal?
2.
2 and
Negative 3.
Negative 3.
negative 3. What does that mean? What's that telling me when I say x equals 2 and negative 3? What
Those
is
are
that?
your x-intercepts.
Those are my x-intercepts, right? So if I wanted to, I could graph something on my graphing calculator and look at where my x-intercepts are and write it in factored form, couldn't I? All right, so let's take a look at example 5. Get your graphing calculators out. I want you to, let's factor it first and then we'll graph it on our calculator. Okay, so it's x squared minus 2x minus 8. X squared minus 2x minus 8. Okay, and we want to factor that. So how do I factor this? I need factors of negative 8. Okay, that are going to combine into negative 2. So what are those?
2 and 6. Or
That are they going to be multiplied
yeah.
together?
So. Oh,
It's
right.
2 and 4.
Okay, so which one's going to be negative? 2 or 4?
Negative 2.
No.
This is going to combine into a negative, so
Oh.
whichever one's going to have the higher
4.
absolute value, so
4.
that has to be, so it's going to have to be that. Okay, so this factors into x plus 2 times x minus 4. Now, if I set this to 0, and if you graph this as this, y equals, okay,
They're
graph
the
it like
same
this,
line.
graph this. Where is this going to cross the x-axis? At x equal what?
2.
Negative
Negative 2.
and positive 4. Okay, so graph this and see where you're crossing the x-axis and
That's
see if you
the
can check
same
it.
line. I graphed them both at the same time. And it's
Shut up, James. I'm trying to do it
What do you
myself.
mean? That you graphed
I
this
graphed
and
that
graphed
one.
this? Yeah, they're the same
Yeah,
thing.
they're the same thing.
Yeah, they're the same exact thing. Yes.
Smith, what's wrong with my calculator?
I don't know.
Oh,
Maybe your
sorry,
window's
it's
messed
window.
up. Let me
Good
do.
Zoom standard. That's like the best standard, man.
Wow.
Or the best zoom.
So it's like the zoom button, and then you choose option 6, which is standard.
Okay.
Okay, do you guys have that now? So where are you crossing the x-axis? Look on your graph.
And 4.
Is it -2 and 4? Is that a fact?
Yep.
Okay.
That is
All right. Good.
Fun fact.
All right. Now, so let's look at example 6.
X6. Wait, that wasn't. I'm just gonna say did on calculator.
Okay, let's look at example 6. This thing keeps sliding here. Do this. All right. So here they're saying solve this thing by factoring. Okay. And what is it? It says. Now remember in the section before when you were solving something, you had it already factored in. You set each of the factors to 0, right? And you solved it, right? And you found out what x equals. All right, is this in standard form?
No.
So we really have to get in standard form first before we start factoring. So what do I need to do to get it in standard form?
Subtract 10 from both sides.
So I'm going to subtract 10. All right, and so now I've got x squared minus 3x minus 10 equals 0. All right, so what else? What's the next question I need to ask myself?
Wait, could you have not?
I'm gonna solve it by factoring if I can.
Could you have
Okay.
subtracted the x? So
You could have, and you could have put everything on the other side. But just in general, let me just tell you right now, have everything, that you can have it be positive. Move everything so that the leading coefficient is positive. It makes your life easier. Okay. All right. So, so what's my next question? I got to ask myself, what are the factors of
10.
negative 10 that combine into negative 3?
negative 5 and 2.
Okay, so that means the thing that's
Whatever.
furthest away from 0 is the thing that's going to have to be negative because this combines into a negative. So what are my choices? I got 1 and 10. That's not going to do it, right? What's the next
2
one?
and 5.
Or
2 and
negative
5.
The
Okay.
5 has to be
Now,
negative.
which one's going to be further
5.
away from 0 based on this?
5.
The
5.
5. So it's going to be positive 2 and negative 5. So this factors into x plus 2 times x minus 5 equals 0. Now they're asking me to solve it by factoring. Okay, leaving it factored is not enough. When you are asked to solve something, what are you being asked to find?
Negative 2 and 5.
You're being asked to find the values of x that make that a true statement. So you have to go ahead and solve. You have to set each of these to 0 and solve. So
X equals negative 2 and 5.
and positive 5. Yes. All right. Now go ahead and do. Oh wait a minute. We got to do this other thing, the quadratic model.
We don't have to do it.
That's really cool.
Okay. It says you're putting together a stone border along two sides of a rectangular Japanese garden that measures 6 yards by 15 yards. Okay. Your budget limits you to only enough stone to cover 46 square yards. How wide should the border be? All right, so you see the stone part, right? That's going kind of like the L shape going around. That's really what they're trying to find out, is like what that's going to be.
Oh, then you factor
And-
the 46 and split up between the two.
So basically, you've got the garden itself, right? And then you've got the whole, the whole measurement of the whole thing, and you're going to subtract the garden out. Okay, so let's just start
Got-
this real quick.
What if I don't like Japanese gardens?
What if I don't like gardens?
All right, so here's our garden. How big is our garden?
Yeah, what?
How big is the garden? They told us how big the garden is.
6 by 15
yards.
So it's 15 and that's 6, right? And the question is, we want to put this little stone walkway here,
It's
right?
2 yards.
That's X right here and X right here, okay? So how big is this whole side?
6
6x.
plus X.
6 plus X. 6 plus X. And how big is this whole side then?
15 plus X.
15 plus X. So what's the area of the garden itself? 15, right, times 6. All right. And the area of this whole big thing, right, is 6 plus X times 15 plus X. Okay, so the area of the big thing, 15 plus X times 6 plus X.
And then
Subtract the garden out. 15 times 6 has to equal what?
46.
46.
46. Okay, that's how much stone we have that we're going to carry. Okay, so now what do we do? Well, we got to foil and we got to simplify. We got to turn that into.
46.
Okay, so
both
let's
sides.
foil this. What's this
Or
going to become?
90.
That's x squared, right?
Or x squared.
Oh, hey, Jacob.
Hey,
Here, I got a couple of
Jacob.
papers for you if you want to hold on.
Jacob.
So I'm making this video for you, Jacob.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
you're
in
on
there.
camera.
I'm
Say hi.
factoring.
Yeah, you're
Hi,
on
Mom.
the own video.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
guys,
so it's all
I'm
about
famous.
factoring. Let's do that. It's just one thing.
Hi, Mom.
Bye-bye.
Okay. All right. So I'll see you on Thursday.
Did you really just say future stuff?
Okay, so let's FOIL this. What are we going to get when we FOIL this?
90,
So x squared,
or x
and then 15x plus 6x, 21x, and then what's 6 times 15?
90.
90. Okay, and then what is this? Minus 90 equals 46. All right, so this zeroes out, right? 90 minus 90. So what am I left with? X squared
Plus 21x
plus 21x,
equals 40.
and then I'm going to
Equals
subtract the
46, but you
46.
Subtract 46, so you get 46 equals 0.
Okay,
Wow.
now can we factor this? Or
Yeah.
what are my factors
Negative
of
46.
negative 46 that are going to combine into positive 21? Okay, so we got to think about it a
So
little bit.
we've got 2 times 23.
Okay, well 1 and 46, that's not going to do it,
2
right?
times 23.
2 and what?
23.
Oh, wait a minute, that looks kind of like,
Oh,
that's positive.
Whoa.
So then you get
Okay,
Okay,
negative
now,
2.
but that's positive in the middle, so that means the absolute value of the larger factor
Is
is
the
got to be
shorter
the
one.
positive
Yeah,
one.
so you gotta get the negative 2.
So that's going to be positive
Wow.
23, negative 2. Okay, can we factor that?
Yeah.
X
X.
minus 2, x plus 23 equals 0. Okay, so what can this halfway be? X equals,
negative 23 and 2.
so positive 2 and negative 23. But we're living in the real world. Are we going to have a negative measurement?
I
No.
So what do we
You
do
need to
with
switch
it?
the sign.
We just toss it out.
Or just toss it
it's
out.
called extraneous. Okay, we aren't going to use it. So, but x equals 2, we'll use that. That will work.
Oh,
Unless we're doing
Okay.
a current part of the
All right, do the checkpoint.
Wait, so then 2 equals what
X
part
equals
is
2.
the word
So
problem?
it's this part. Your path you're going to add on is 2
Oh, so
feet.
the dimensions is 2 feet wide.
Yeah, so this pathway is going to be 2 feet this way and 2 feet going that way.
I see. Okay, I wasn't sure what.
Oh, you're done already. Okay, so go ahead and do the checkpoints. All right.
Checkpoint.
X equals, yes. Okay, yeah, so you want to set that equal to 0 though, okay? And
Okay,
then,
I
because you
usually
see how
just do them
it's that? Okay, because these are equations now, but yeah.
Just do it in my head.
Okay, this one's not the right combination,
Okay.
because what's negative 3 times negative 2? Plus 6, and that's negative 6. So it's going to be factors of negative 6 that combine.
How's 20 though? Did I get 20 right?
20 I didn't see.
Do we have to do 20?
Yes. Boy, Andrew. All right.
Checkpoint 7.
Okay, I got 17, 18, 19. Now,
Okay.
this was the 20 as well.
Yes. Okay, let me see your 17. Okay. All right. So what you've done, okay, is you factored it, but you haven't solved it. So you have to set it equal to 0, and then tell me what x equals. Yeah, you have to, and this is really set equal to 0. These are all set equal to 0.
Oh, I don't know how
Okay.
to do that either.
Okay.
What was that?
Okay. This is important.
I didn't
You
read the
guys
instructions.
you're dealing with an equation now. You're not just factoring it, but you're solving. So you make sure that everything is set to 0 because you're dealing with an equation now, not an expression that you're factoring. They're different because I got to tell you, there's so many students that will say solve by factoring. They will leave it in factored form and not tell me what x equals. Okay, so that's not solving it. Okay. All right. So 17. Okay, you factored it, but you haven't solved it. That's just what I'm talking about. So you got to set it equal to 0, and then you got to tell me what x equals. It's the next step. It's like what you did for homework last time. X plus 3, x plus 1. No, it actually should. Yeah, it's equal to 0.
Here, that's fine.
And now what does x equal? Set each one of those equal to 0 and solve for x. X equals -3, and x equals -1.
Okay.
See that?
Is this?
You understand what I'm saying?
Wait, do the foil.
Yeah.
Okay, so look, see,
Yeah.
see, these are being set to 0 now, so you're not
Great.
just leaving it like this, see this right here, you're not leaving it like that.
So
You
20
then are
is
solving each of these and tell me what x is,
Oh, okay.
okay?
Yeah.
You gotta take it the next
So
step,
then it'd be
Is this-
-3 is
Is this
Yeah.
18?
Okay.
okay, but make sure you have those last ones set to 0 and then solving for x.
This 18.
Okay, let me see what you got, let me see your 17. Okay, yeah, and you're setting that to 0, okay, and then 18, you're very messy, I can't,
No,
I
I'm-
really can't, I'm not sure where to look.
Well, these are my personal notes. So. I don't worry about
Okay,
it.
all right, I guess that looks good.
Did I fix that?
So 19, yes. Okay, you got the, did you say you got the next one?
I got it.
Okay, x equals, which one is that one?
18.
18 is, no, the
Kinda
numbers
fun.
aren't right. Because when you multiply those, see, think about that, when you multiply this and that, you're
I'll
gonna
send
get
you
a
my
negative
homework
5
too.
on the last term, and the term was a negative, was positive 4.
Okay. So
So when you multiply them, you wanna get 4, but when you combine them, you wanna get a negative 5 when you add them. Or combine them.
12 times 7.
Alright, who else wants me to see what we got?
I've got 17, 18, 19. I'm still working on 20.
Okay, so 17, okay, now, this is what we was just talking about. You factored it, but you didn't solve it. Okay, factoring means to get in those two things, but that's, you gotta
right,
set it
okay.
equal to 0, and then you gotta tell me what x
Okay.
equals.
So,
I wasn't paying attention to what it said.
Okay, is everybody understanding what I'm saying there?
Yeah,
Okay.
I just didn't read it.
Okay, yeah, make sure this is set equal to 0, so you know what you're doing, you're
oh,
dealing
I
with an
see,
equation, okay?
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
and now you're telling me what x equals, yes.
Okay.
So
This,
the
this
same
is
thing.
9.
Okay.
So that's gonna be true for 18 and 19, these are equations that you're solving, they're set equal to 0, okay? 19?
Yep.
Yeah,
Hey, no, hold on.
cause they gotta multiply out to negative
Oh, I
6,
got
and you got negative 5.
Alright, is that it
Multiplying
now?
out to be.
I got it. No. That what it was?
Positive, you got negative 6,
Oh.
no, it's,
That's what
okay.
So it's
It's the other way around, yeah. All right, so let me just tell you real quick, because we're running out of time. 17, factors into x equals -1 and -3, okay? It's not okay to leave it as just x plus 1 times x plus 3, because it's factored, but it's not solved. You got to set both of those factors to 0 and get x. Number 18, x equals 1 and x equals 4. When you factor it, it'll be x minus 1 times x minus 4 equals 0. And then you solve it, x equals 1 and x equals 4. Number 19, x equals -1 and positive 6. All right, and 23, suppose the garden is 7 yards by 12 yards, and you can cover 66 square yards. How big is the border going to be?
Wait, can
3
you?
yards.
3 yards, good. 3 yards.
So wait, then.
All right. And for those that are still sitting there and don't have anything to do,
These are kind of fun.
yeah, I'm going to give you another one, just a preview of the next section because we just have a couple minutes.
Terrible.
Because we're here, what, until, we got, 2 minutes, okay. All right, so,
Those are just people that aren't still working or I'm still working, so do I.
okay, that's fine.
Okay.
All right, so now you're going to have something that looks like this, okay? It's just a little bit more complicated when you have a leading coefficient. So this is 6x squared plus 22x plus 20, okay? And you're factoring these. Okay, the problem is that when that something's going to get multiplied to produce this 6 and something's going to get multiplied to produce this 20. And they have to combine into this 22. The way that you do this now is you take this leading coefficient and you multiply it to this. What do you get when you do that? You get 6 times 1 times 20. Is that going to give you what? 120. So you're looking at factors now of 120 that combine into 22.
So you'd be at 40.
So that's going to be what? 1
Yeah.
And 120, that's not gonna be good, right? 2 and 60, that combines into 62, so that's not any good. So 3 and 40, that's 43. What about 4? 4 and 30. What about 5? How many times does 120 go into 5 go into 120?
6 times. No, 60.
No.
Okay.
No, 25.
25?
No, it was 20.
Okay, no. Okay, guys, get your calculator out. Don't be
Confused.
tacking up yet.
20 divided by
Okay.
6 is 24.
Okay, you're not looking at this. Okay, I thought you were
24
doing something else.
24.
Okay,
24.
5 and 24. Okay, what about 6? 6 and
30.
20. That doesn't work. What about 8?
8, 15.
8 and 15. God, that doesn't work. Oh, what about 10 and 12? 10 and 12. There it is. Okay.
Oh, wow.
All right. So this is where you're going to do the box method. Okay, and we're probably out of time. So
Yeah, so you just do X. You just.
Well, no, it's a little bit more complicated than that. Well, this is
Right.
you're going to say 6x. You're going to say plus 10x plus 12x plus 20, and then you're going to do factor by grouping, or you're going to do a box, and I'll show you how to do that next time. Okay, so make sure you guys finish up your homework,
I think it's 3.
and make sure you turn in any form, any homework you missed. Okay, and what do we have left?